Eyewitness News. Coach David Cutcliffe's Duke Football Show, presented by BB&T.
A fine day in Atlanta, and a tremendous crowd, a lot at stake. I thought our team was in the locker room prior to the game, pre-game warm-up, minds right where they needed to be. We had a great crowd, a great Duke crowd that had followed us to Atlanta. Things had just fallen right, and you know, as this game began, you knew that it was soon going to become one of those slugfests where every possession, I mentioned to someone, it was much like a basketball game at the end of a basketball game that's close, every possession critical. And ultimately, Georgia Tech gets 6 touchdowns on 8 possessions. We get 3 touchdowns and a field goal on 8 possessions. A difficult day in that regard, and some unfortunate circumstances on a couple of drives. You're hunting turnovers, you're hunting a stop somewhere in there to get ahead of the possession game. So an interesting football game, one that we absolutely fought hard, played really well, but as it came to be, we would have had to play great to win.
Coach Cutcliffe's Game Analysis, presented by BB&T.
Couldn't ask for a better day in November to play football. The trip had gone smoothly, and here they run a little wheel route, and did a good job coming out and executing their offense, which ended up being an indication for the day. This was a day of possessions. We really had 8 possessions on offense, and as the game got underway, you realized we were going to need to score 6 or 7 of those possessions, and as it ended up, that certainly was the case. Here's one of our touchdowns. Desmond Scott had a big day. Sean Renfrey, under some duress throughout the day, ended up throwing the ball very well, particularly through the middle of the field. This is a play that hurt us a little bit. They ran the trap option, and they actually hurt us with the fullback as the day went on. Here's Sonny Falcone, you see there on the sideline, goes down and has a pretty significant injury himself, and going to have surgery this week. So Sonny, will be thinking of you, and a good call by Kurt Roper on the quarterback draw, and Sean does a good athletic job. There's a good picture of our parents and fans that made the trip. We had a large contingency there. It was great to see them. Nice stop on the goal line, and here's a really tough call. You can see the young man's knee goes down and reaching for the goal line, but I don't know what kind of picture these people get in the box, and this word undisputable video evidence makes all of those overturns difficult. Connor Vernon on a record-setting day, and we had a really significant fake that we felt good about, and they took a timeout, so we went back with just a kick. And how about Ross Martin? Hit that well. Outstanding job all day by Ross, kicking off. And here kind of was the story of the day. We come out in the second half, and we got a stop, and on 3rd down, an offensive lineman gets a ricochet and makes a 1st down, and then we have a coverage assignment bust, and the fullback gets behind us on a wheel route. And I tell you, the offense all day long, Desmond Scott, 10 catches on the day down the middle of the field. A 4th down conversion here, really well run by Connor. I thought Sean had a really good day. Desmond took hits over the middle, some strikes thrown, and here's a great catch by Jawan Thompson on a play-action pass, and a lot of fine execution on a very long drive by our offense. In the 28-24, you're just going back and forth, and nice play by David Helton right here. And you know, the defense all day long had people in the right places for the most part, and that's the story of the offense. Here's a youngster that played well, Justin Fox. As you can see, just such great intensity, playing with basically a cast on his hand, and then the final touchdown, which was unfortunate. It was a really well-played football game all day long.
Duke football is brought to you by BB&T, sharing knowledge for a brighter direction. By Duke Sports Medicine, excellence in sports injury treatment and prevention. And by Gatorade. Gatorade knows it all begins within. Win from within.
The financial landscape keeps changing. It's tough to navigate, full of too many followers and not enough leaders. At BB&T, we help our mortgage clients know which way to steer. By sharing more than 140 years of financial knowledge, you and your family have the information you need to move in a brighter direction. Talk to us today about your mortgage needs. BB&T, sharing knowledge for a brighter direction.
Duke has always been a leader in innovation.
In the care of patients with cardiovascular disease, Duke is really a world leader.
Duke cardiologists have written the guidelines that other cardiologists around the world are using to provide care.
We learned to do coronary artery bypass surgery. One of the first places to potentially do it in the world was the Duke University Medical Center.
CPR, the current guidelines actually have been largely influenced by work that was done here at Duke.
Stents and the drugs that we use to treat heart attacks were developed through research that was done here at Duke.
And so that's the reason I think that people should come to a place like Duke, where there is energy, excitement, and opportunity for new approaches.
Where are we going next? The future's really bright, a little bit unpredictable, but the only thing you can count on is that we'll be there, and we'll be actually creating it.
Welcome to Washington Duke Inn. Our expansion's complete, and we're kicking off with the winning combination. Sumptuous dining, lavish rooms and suites, fantastic leisure. Enjoy true blue hospitality. Call 919-490-0999.
Duke's graduating senior class of football players has enjoyed a transformative role in helping the Blue Devils program become bowl eligible this season, and their individual achievements are many. One of the most unique distinctions belongs to wide receiver Desmond Scott, who became just the third player in ACC history to accumulate at least 1,000 rushing, receiving, and kickoff return yards. That versatility has made him one of Duke's most valuable weapons.
I think it's probably very difficult for anybody to understand how special an athlete has to be to accomplish 1,000 yards in receiving, 1,000 yards rushing, and 1,000 yards of kickoff returns in a career. First of all, it's got to be a guy with a special set of skills. You've got to have great hands. You've got to be a runner. You're not going to just catch kickoffs if you don't have great hands. You're not going to catch enough balls to have 1,000 yards. Desmond Scott is as good a mix as I've had as an athlete of great feet, of great hand-eye coordination. He has strength. He has durability. We've had a few hamstring issues, but Desmond kind of takes that beating a back or a return man or a receiver at times gets and manages to be consistent. I think he's one of the finer all-around athletes that I've had the good fortune of being around and having coached. Therefore, you got a guy that's one of 3 of all time in this league to be able to accomplish that feat.
You have to be unique to do that. I can't think of many guys that I've played against that I think would be able to do that. Because it just takes so many different, it takes a different kind of ability to perform at each position. Receiver takes something different than running back, and he's been able to adapt and change his game to fit both those roles.
Scott surpassed the 1,000-yard mark in rushing and kickoff returns during his first 3 seasons when he was one of the Blue Devils' top running backs. He made the switch to wide receiver this year and has added significantly to the receiving yardage he gained out of the backfield in the past. His exploits have enabled him to join an elite circle of triple 1,000-yard players that includes only 1960s Virginia legend Frank Quayle and recent Clemson standout C.J. Spiller. Of the 3 century marks, Scott is most proud of the receiving yardage.
I have to say the receiving aspect, just the thought that, when I was at running back, before I transferred over to the receiver position, I had 500 and something yards, and that's a lot of receiving yards for a running back. It speaks to what our offense does. We like to throw the ball, and, I caught a lot of passes for a lot of yards, so, it shows my versatility.
I thought the switch to wide receiver was going to be not an easy switch just because it's such a different position, but he is so gifted athletically that going out in space and running routes, he's been able to pick up pretty quick. I thought that was going to be a challenge and might take a long, long time, and he did it much faster than I thought was going to be possible.
Des does everything well because he's real smart, and he knows our offense in and out. He knows everything about our offense just as much as our quarterbacks do. But on the field, Des is the kind of guy, he's going to do what he has to do, but at the same time, he's a ball-hungry kind of guy. He wants the ball in his hands all the time. He wants to try to embarrass people and try to do stuff like that.
He's a guy that can make people miss in space, and that's not easy to do. So putting him in the slot, it's been an advantage for us when we're having to throw bubbles and do those type things. But he really understands our system, so we're able to create new things each week and do different things. But he's obviously just a guy that is special in space, making guys miss.
I've always played, multiple positions, whether it be defense, offense, or special teams. But I will attribute, my hands, catching ability, and athletic ability first to God, and then my father for shaping and grooming me throughout the years. Constantly, he would play catch with me, while he was training me through, the times of December, January, February when no one is training. I'm always training, and in that training process, if I'm on a rest period, he's constantly throwing the ball to me. So when I'm tired, I'm catching the ball, and it obviously has translated to my college career.
Scott's impact extends far beyond his statistics. A Durham native who plans to enter the teaching profession, he's one of the Blue Devils' most passionate community servants. He's also a central figure in a senior class that took seriously Coach David Cutcliffe's message of leaving the football program better than they found it.
Sometimes it's emotional, just the fact that, I was going somewhere else. But I bit into his concept of, we're going to go bowling, we're going to be a championship team, by the time you leave here. And, I bought in. I was one of the first big recruits that Coach Cut signed. And then the others followed. The 2009 class, when we first got here, that was our goal, to, be ACC contenders and, leave this place better than what we found it. And we're doing that this season.
It's not only his on-field character, but his off-field character as well. He's very active in the community, and I think that's part of the reason why he wanted to stay here and go to Duke. So, he's been a great help, a mentor to a lot of people, a tutor. And then also on the field, he's performed at a high level, whether it's at running back or a receiver or a returner. And so you've seen this year at receiver that he's a very shifty guy. He can make people miss, he's good in space, and I think that it was a good move for him.
That's Mr. Durham. We call him Mr. Durham, Mr. 15501. He's real big in the community. I get the feel that in high school, he was real well known around the Durham area. So him staying in a Durham college was real big for our program, for him to reach out and I guess to get fans to start looking at Duke football, and just to get people looking at our direction when it comes to recruiting and when it comes to just fan base.
It's meant a lot, you know, just the fact that I can play in front of my home crowd. Those kids that look up to me, I've been, you know, a big influence in those lives, and a lot of things that I've had the opportunity to do, you know, if I would have been elsewhere, I wouldn't have had those chances. So, you know, God knew what he was doing when he told me to come here.
Duke football is brought to you by Continental Tire.